Today we're going to build some simple and sturdy shop shelves with built-in storage. This is a very beginner-friendly project that I think anybody can do even if you don't have any tool experience, and I'll walk you through it. This is also secured to the wall, so it's very sturdy.
Great, first thing we're going to do is we're going to tackle our cut list. I'm putting my plywood on my bench here and putting some 2x4s underneath so that I can make my cuts without damaging my workbench. And if you like this workbench, I have a video on how to build it available on my channel with pre-plans on my website. It's 4 by 8 feet and on caster wheels, so it's easy to move around your shop. Back to the cut list. We are cutting 4 pieces that are 16 inches wide and 48 inches long. I'm using my track saw to make these cuts, but a circular saw will work just fine. I ended up moving 2 2x4s closer to my cut line on either side to prevent the plywood from binding against the blade when making the cuts. Once you've got your 4 pieces cut out, we'll move on to the legs. I'm cutting 4 legs at 72 inches. I'm making these cuts out of 8-foot 2x4s and trimming off the ends to get them nice and flat. I have full plans available for these shelves on my website, including a material and cut list that you can take with you to the lumber store. The plans offer full assembly instructions and are a great benefit if you're a new DIYer. Then I'm taking 4 10-foot 2x4s, trimming off the ends, and cutting 8 pieces at 48 inches. After that, we're cutting 12 pieces at 13 inches long. Finally, we're cutting 4 pieces that are 12 inches long that we will use for spacers when assembling the shelves.
Alright, so now I have my 8 pieces, mine are 48 inches long, and I have 12 pieces that are 13 inches long, and I've got 2 clamps that need to be at least 16 inches between here and here, which I'm going to use to assist me with assembling the base of the shelves. You don't need to use clamps, but I think it makes it easier to keep things lined up and in position when assembling. That should help.
For each shelf, you'll need 2 48-inch pieces and 3 13-inch pieces. If you have clamps available, use them to help keep things in position when screwing the pieces together. I'm using a 1/8-inch drill bit to pre-drill and then securing the pieces together with 2.5-inch wood screws. Pre-drilling is really important as it will prevent the wood from splitting when you drive in the screw. Once you complete the first side, flip it over and do the other side. Then place a piece in the middle to give the shelf some extra support. This is super important if you're putting heavy items on your shelves, and I also recommend using 3/4-inch plywood for something like this over OSB, as plywood is much stronger. Alrighty, now we're going to add our plywood pieces to the base of each shelf. Once you've got your piece lined up, pre-drill all around the border of the plywood and then secure the plywood top to the base with 1.5-inch screws. Make sure you avoid screwing into those screws below. Feel free to space these screws out however you want. I ended up putting 5 screws along each side and then 3 screws along the top and bottom. Once you've got your 4 shelves assembled, you need to attach the legs. I took one of my shelves, placed it upside down on the floor, and then clamped the first leg in place. I then pre-drilled 3 holes and sunk in 3 2.5-inch screws. And please make sure that you check that your legs are level prior to securing them to the shelves. Complete this process for all 4 legs. After building this once, there's something I would have done differently. I would recommend temporarily adding a 16-inch piece here at the top to keep the legs square from the get-go. It would have made it easier when attaching the remaining shelves because the legs would have stayed in proper position. It also would have made it easier to add the remaining shelves, as you can see here. So you just saw me add those 12-inch spacers on top of the shelf that's already attached. We're going to take the next shelf and place it on these spacers. We are then going to secure the next shelf to the legs. As you can see just there, I never checked to see if my legs were level before sinking in the screws. Then secure the legs on the back side. Remove the spacers.
Oh, I can't get it.
And move on to the next shelf.
So when I went to put on this third shelf, I noticed it seemed kind of out of square, and I did not check that this leg was level when putting it on, and it kind of threw the whole thing out of place. So consistently check to make sure that this thing is level.
Then we're going to finish adding our shelves. Oh, it's the next day. I had to run out because I was going to Pilates class for the first time with my wife. And you know what? I liked it. We're then going to move over to the wall where we're placing the shelves. I'm using a stud finder here, but you can also use a magnet to hunt for drywall screws. Studs are typically 16 inches apart, so when you find your first one, you can go off of that. We're then going to tip this big son of a gun over. If this is too heavy for you, ask for help. I lifted the shelf onto the tops of my boots and then lifted it up from there. As a fitness enthusiast, I must say, don't forget to lift with your legs and drive yourself up from the floor. You don't want to hurt your back doing this. With the studs marked out, we're going to pre-drill into the 48-inch long pieces and secure those pieces to the studs behind the shelves with 2.5-inch screws. Make sure you hit the studs. It'll sound like this. I then measured for a side shelf. This measured out to 16 by 37 inches. I took my remaining plywood and cut this out. If you're interested in any of my tools, I have a link in the description for what I use and recommend. I then temporarily clamped this piece to the main shelf. I pre-drilled all around the frame of the plywood and then secured it to the main shelf with 1.5-inch screws. After that, I added these 15-inch bar magnet tool holders. I have a few of these around my shop and I find them super handy. I also threw in a couple screws on the side so that I could hang things like my PPE and other commonly used items. Feel free to customize this however you want. You could even do a mini French cleat wall if you wanted to.
There we go. We built some shelves. I hope you guys found this video useful. If you did, I'd really appreciate if you either throw me a like or drop a comment or subscribe to my channel. On my channel, I plan to do a lot more DIY builds for my workshop and my house. And if you're kind of in the same situation as me, we can grow together. I'll have a lot of plans available for stuff throughout my shop that I build, as well as making some fun, creative builds that I just find enjoyable. So thanks so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. See you next video.